When you scroll through social media and see the latest LV fashion show, models walking down a glass runway in futuristic outfits, handbags printed with that world-famous monogram pattern, you probably don't realize that this empire began not with fashion magazines or celebrity endorsements, but with a 16-year-old boy. He walked 470 kilometers from the mountains of eastern France to Paris, carrying nothing but a plain tool and a body covered in sawdust. It was an era when dome-top trunks ruled everything. What he wanted to do was turn those rounded lids flat and change the world. In 1837, Louis Vuitton arrived in Paris. He was 16. No money, no connections, not even a decent pair of shoes. What did he have? His eyes. He saw something that everyone else saw, but only he truly understood. At that time, Europe was being reshaped by trains and steamships. The nobility no longer just rode in carriages. They began to travel across seas and continents. But here was the problem. They were still using old-fashioned dome trunks. Why don't? Early carriage trunks had curved tops to let rain run off. But inside a train luggage car, you couldn't stack a dome trunk. Nothing would sit on top. Half the space was wasted. On top of that, leather-covered trunks molded when rained on and fell apart at the slightest bump. Louis Vuitton's first job in Paris was as an apprentice trunk maker at Monsieur Marichal's workshop. He learned fast, sawing wood, stitching edges, fitting locks. Within a few years, he became one of the finest trunk makers in the city. Then he met the person who would change his life. Empress Eugénie, wife of Napoleon III and the ultimate fashion icon of the French court. Every time the Empress traveled, she needed dozens of trunks. She was tired of the heavy, fragile, inefficient old boxes. She needed someone who could get all her belongings safely to their destination. Louis Vuitton was recommended to her and became her personal luggage attendant. That job gave Louis a front-row seat to the real pain points of a premium traveler. Trunks too heavy, not crash-worthy, poor space utilization, locks that could be pried open with a knife. But more importantly, he noticed a simple fact that everyone else ignored. The way people traveled had changed, but the trunk hadn't. The dimensions of train compartments and ship cabins were fixed. A trunk should fit the space, not the other way around. He waited for his chance to do it himself. In 1854, Louis Vuitton was 33 years old. He opened his first shop at 4 Rue Neuve des Capucines in Paris. The sign read, Louis Vuitton, Trunk Maker. His first move wasn't a party. It was a product no one had ever seen, the flat-top trunk. Just flatten the dome top. That simple? No. That single flattening gave birth to the entire modern luggage industry. Flat tops meant you could stack them, fit them under train luggage racks, and secure them on any flat-deck transport. But Louis knew that changing the shape wasn't enough. He also changed the material. Most trunks at the time were made of animal leather, easily warped by moisture. Louis invented a new coated canvas, gray Trianon fabric, waterproof, lightweight, and tough. Then he kept improving it, a wooden frame, canvas skin, metal corner guards. As soon as this trunk hit the market, the Empress Eugénie put in an order. Soon the whole Parisian aristocracy began saying, if you don't want to embarrass yourself on a journey, get a box from Louis Vuitton. Louis had one strict rule in his workshop. Every single trunk had to be completed by the same pair of hands, from wood selection to final lock fitting. No assembly line. He believed in full accountability from one craftsman to one customer. That obsession gave Louis Vuitton trunks a de facto lifetime warranty as early as the 1880s. If you bought a trunk from him, he would repair it, and if he couldn't repair it, he would replace it. And the thing that truly made Louis Vuitton legendary? A lock. As orders exploded, the Paris shop's workshop was no longer enough. In 1859, Louis bought a plot of land in Asnières, a village on the northwestern edge of Paris, and built a new workshop. The location was a stroke of genius. It sat next to the Seine, so timber could float downstream to the workshop door, and it was right on the Paris-Saint-Germain railway line, so finished trunks could be loaded onto trains and shipped across the world. Water current and iron speed, both were woven into his production chain. The Asnier's workshop still runs today. It is not open to the public. Only a handful of the world's most exclusive clients are ever allowed inside. It is home to a few dozen craftsmen who work exactly as they did 160 years ago, hand-making items you will never see on the official website. A mobile library trunk for a Russian billionaire that opens into a full wall of books. A wine cabinet for the Monaco royal family, with champagne glass slots cut so precisely they don't rattle. Expedition beds, portable pianos for musicians. Asnier's isn't just a factory. It is the Vatican of Louis Vuitton. Every trunk that leaves that workshop has a handwritten craftsman's code and date stamped on its base. That is a pledge. The craftsman takes responsibility for his work, and the brand takes responsibility for its people. Louis Vuitton's success brought an expected problem: fakes. From the 1870s onward, counterfeiters all over Europe copied his flat-top trunks and canvas patterns with a vengeance. There were no trademark laws, no cross-border e-commerce enforcement. Louis Vuitton could only rely on itself. In 1896, Louis's son, Georges Vuitton, took over the company. He did something that changed the brand's destiny. He designed a visual emblem that could not be easily copied. He used his father's initials, LV, interwoven with four-leaf clovers, flowers, and diamond shapes. The colors: dark brown canvas with light brown patterns, dense, intricate, very hard to forge. That was the birth of the monogram canvas. Monogram is one of the most successful design symbols in commercial history. It needs no words. In any country, among any social class, people see it and know exactly what it means: quality, durability, and a touch of pride. Georges didn't just design the pattern. He also registered monogram as a trademark and filed it with customs offices across the world. From that moment on, Louis Vuitton's anti-counterfeiting campaign never stopped. By the early 20th century, Louis Vuitton was no longer just a supplier to the French royal family. Its client list read like a who's who of global power: the British royal family, the Russian Tsar, the Emperor of Japan, Indian Maharajas, the Rockefellers, President Roosevelt. The age of sail had just ended, and the jet age had not yet arrived. But Louis Vuitton had already turned the art of travel into a global elite status symbol. The longer a brand lives, the more wars it endures. The Franco-Prussian War, World War I, World War II. Louis Vuitton showed remarkable survival instincts in every crisis. During World War I, the Asnier's workshop made stretchers and military wooden supplies for a while. During World War II, the situation was more complicated. Some stores stayed open under German occupation. That remains a gray area in the brand's history. But what's undeniable is that this pragmatic survival strategy kept Louis Vuitton alive when many of its luxury contemporaries perished. After the war, the world entered a golden age of consumerism. Trains were replaced by planes, ships by cruise liners. But Louis Vuitton's trunks still rode in first-class baggage holds. In the 1970s, Henri Rackemeyer, a fifth-generation family descendant, made a bold leap. He pushed Louis Vuitton from a French family business into a multinational luxury group. In 1987, Louis Vuitton merged with Moët Hennessy to form the Moët Hennessy Louis Vuitton Group, today's LVMH. From that point on, Louis Vuitton was no longer just a luggage brand. It became the flagship of the world's largest luxury empire. Entering the 21st century, Louis Vuitton faced a new question: how does a 160-year-old brand stay cool to young people? The answer: hire the coolest people on earth to design it. In 1997, Louis Vuitton hired an American, Marc Jacobs, as its artistic director. It was the first time in LV's history that a non-family member was put in charge of design. Marc Jacobs stayed for 16 years, and his approach was brutally simple. Collaborate with Takashi Murakami. Collaborate with Yayoi Kusama. Print the monogram on everything you never expected: balloons, surfboards, boxing gloves. He pulled LV out of grandma's closet and threw it into young people's shopping carts. In 2018, an even more radical move, LV appointed Virgil Abloh as men's creative director. He was the founder of streetwear brand Off-White, a black designer with no traditional fashion training. The industry was stunned, but Virgil's first show broke LV's all-time viewership records. He brought LV into the worlds of hip-hop, skateboarding, and anime. Virgil once said, "LV is not a luxury brand. LV is the definition of luxury." Virgil died of illness in 2021, but his influence remains. Today, LV generates over 20 billion euros in annual revenue, operates more than 500 stores worldwide, and has hundreds of millions of social media followers. It is still the most counterfeited brand on earth, and still the one people most want to own. Let's go back to the beginning. How did a poor 16-year-old woodworker build an empire that has ruled the world for 160 years? The answer is not in the monogram. It's not in celebrity endorsements. It's not even in the trunks. The answer is in the hands of that one glue-stained craftsman at the Asnières workshop. Louis Vuitton does not sell boxes. It sells the imagination of a destination. When someone buys an LV trunk, they are not buying wood and canvas. They are buying a promise. The promise that their luggage won't fall apart, that their locks won't be picked, that their clothes won't be crushed. That promise is not made by advertising. It is made by 170 years of unbroken handcraft. Every LV trunk, from wood selection to the fitting of the 5-piece lock, still follows the standards Louis Vuitton set in 1854. You may not like its flashiness, but you cannot deny its consistency. And what would that boy who walked 470 kilometers say if he saw LV today? He probably wouldn't care about the runway shows or the celebrity ambassadors. He would walk into the Asnières workshop, run his hand over the leather on a craftsman's bench, and say, "Good. Still the same." That is enough.